Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am Andrea Walker Lighty. I was just given a couple more minutes for people to hop on. Looks like we've got a nice handful of folks here today. I want to make sure that everybody can hear and see me okay. If you can, if you're on your computer and want to hop into the chat and just say hi, can hear you all right, or raise a hand. I'd love to just make sure everybody can see and hear okay. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So we are going to talk today about storytelling and storytelling for nonprofits. The other thing I just put in the chat is we're monitoring the chat and the questions and answers. So if you have questions and you want to ask, please do. This is supposed to be really engaging. Oftentimes I'll do it just as a regular Zoom because I like to be able to see your faces. So we're trying something new today, and we'll see how I like it. But so far I really love being able to see everyone's hand or faces, and I can't, so that's all right. The chat is disabled for me. Oh, okay. Let me make sure that I can let you all get in the chat. Let me see. There we go. Can you guys see the chat now? If not, just go ahead and do things in the question and answer. Let me know if you can see in the question and answer. Sometimes that is the best way. But if you can hop into the chat, then go right ahead. So I'm going to get started, and we're going to talk today about my absolute passion, which is storytelling for all businesses and individuals, but especially storytelling for nonprofits. I'm going to share my screen. Still disabled, but Q&A works. Okay, so go ahead and hop into the Q&A. If you have any questions, hop in over there, and we'll be chatting throughout. Oh, Montana, awesome. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys are here. Like I said, we're paying attention to that over here. It looks like we've got about 20 people here, 18 or 20 people here. So very cool. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to get started. Like I said, anytime you have questions throughout the morning, please just hop in, or afternoon now, right? This is meant to be engaging. I want to hear from you. I really do want to hear your thoughts as we talk through this and your experiences. So please feel free to hop into that Q&A. All right. So we're going to talk about what story you want to tell as a nonprofit. And for me, storytelling really is publicity and social media, and how the media works, and how all of our avenues for getting our story out there work together. Like I said before, I'm Andrea Walker Lighty. I run Walker Publicity Consulting, which is a firm here in the Detroit area, just north of Detroit, that focuses on content development, strategic content strategy, and really helping people discover what their story is, what their brand is, which brand to me is a fancy word for story, and especially helps nonprofits really figure out how do we connect what we are and our mission with the people who want to give and the people we want to serve. So we really have one goal. It's to see businesses and organizations grow in simple and measurable ways through effective marketing, publicity, and social media. That's my goal. I want to see people grow, and I want to hopefully see them start to thrive through what we do. And so today we're going to talk about that. Publicity and media, in my mind, are a great way to help share your story. When I say publicity and media, it really is that holistic approach to public relations. It is all of your storytelling, anything that you do in the community, ways that you engage, ways that your employees and your board members, all of them engage. So it's this seamless integration of all of those mediums that can work together. A lot of times that seems really overwhelming. A lot of times that seems like, well, where would we even start? So hopefully today we kind of talk through some of those ways that you can just simply start and really just think about that. I know there are organizations here kind of all sizes and individuals wanting to start out, and larger nonprofits that have been around for a while. So, the focus really is wherever you're at, just to reassess, right? And really talk about what we do with our clients. And as we sit down and say, okay, what's going on? And what are our goals? And how do we make sure that as many people who might want to engage with those goals know about them and want to engage? So it's really looking at, yes, of course, we know that the media still works. How do we get that attention? But also, what are the things that we're looking at that are also media? We know that social media is also media now. A lot of people get their actual news from social media. And a lot of times when I'm trying to get a client on the actual news, it's so we can share the link on their Facebook and Instagram pages later, right? And so the goal really is to just be this integration of everything that we do and anywhere people are listening. Why do I call it storytelling? Uh, it's the how, right? It's the how and where we share. I have always said, we know that word of mouth spreads. The media has got a really big mouth and a really big audience. It used to be that you'd go to the corner store or you'd talk at the office. How can we get the largest storytellers or the storytellers that are reaching our audience? I work with a nonprofit here in Detroit, and they they have no trouble reaching the news, right? We have a lot of opportunity to actually reach the news and engage with stories about what they do. But we also have found that people want to just hear from them. Part of their media is their email marketing. Part of their media is putting content out to their local business organizations because they want to know what's happening at the domestic violence shelter. They want to know how they can give. The other part of that that's so important to us is the mission that you serve and the people that need your services, right? In my mind, every nonprofit has two goals: reach the people that need me and make money to reach the people that need me, right? So every day it's that. I would love to hear from you, kind of, if you wanted to hop into, if somebody wants to hop in the chat. um, what are your biggest challenges that you find when you're trying to tell your story? Whether you have a marketing team or you don't, whether you just have, the couple of volunteers who started you. What are your biggest challenges? If one or two people want to hop in and just say, what do you run into when you're trying to share the story and you're trying to get donors and you're trying to engage with the community and specifically the media? What are those questions that you have? What challenges do you run into? All right, make sure everyone can see that too. Okay, so we've got, all right, awesome. Wendy asked, we're a one-person office. That limits what I can do as far as outreach. Yes. That is the beauty of nonprofit work, right? I work with a couple nonprofits that are solely volunteer staff. And so, yeah, there's this limit to what you can do and how you can do things. One of the things that I really encourage, and it might even be on this next slide. Yeah. So it's really just taking some simple steps into thinking about what you're doing in a week. I have a check-in that I do with my clients, and it's called It's Just a Tuesday. And I just want to know what you're doing. It's today Tuesday. Oh, today is Tuesday. So you know, think about what you're doing today. Oftentimes, something you're doing today is either newsworthy or at least share worthy with your public, the people who want to engage with you. What's unique? Yes, you're attending this webinar, but later you're probably meeting with someone, or you're dropping something off, or you're picking something out. And so, yes, we look at how you relate with your public. Is it newsworthy? Is it unique? What's happening in the world around us? Is it a national observance that relates with what you do? But then down in the corner here, you've got this other list of things that I call the quick grab bag, right? This is the not real news, but really easy ways that you can make a list every month or every other month or every week that just has this stuff. is any of this stuff going on in my world, in my organization? An event, I'd hire an observance that's national, international, local, whatever, a certification, a product or service. I would even encourage you to go backward. My guess is there's probably a bunch of these things that you haven't talked about yet, because you're right. If it's only one or two of you, it's not always your job, right? It's easy for me to say that. It's my job when I work with folks to share those stories, but there are some really quick, easy ways you can kind of just do that. Nakia, and I apologize if I said that wrong, being a novice and not knowing where to start and being on your own. Similar question, right? As a small nonprofit, you've got to make it really tangible and easy. So I say start with the quick list, right? Start with, okay, what's just on my calendar? That's a great way to start with just getting comfortable with sharing the story. Um, you know, yes, oh, thanks. I said it right. Yes, we want the big news, right? Everybody's hoping they're going to be on, CBS or Fox News or Yahoo News or the nightly news. When I first started my company, Oprah was still on. And so I had this client that said, I really just want to be on Oprah. And I said, okay, well, have you been in the local newspaper yet? Because you service like a local community. And she said, no. I said, okay, let's start there, right? So start right where you are. If you have a Facebook page, you have a public. If you have an email that you send out to just even your board members or just your staff, you have a public. Start right where you are, share the story with exactly who you have now, and then start to figure out how that grows. But what that does is that gets you really comfortable with what your language is. A lot of the work that we do is identifying the actual language of your story and how that works. And I'm going to keep moving, but as I know we have a short time, but if anyone else has questions about what those real key points are that are your struggles, please hop it in there. But this is a great place to start, right? Relate with your public. One of the things that we really look at are how to make that consistent, right? How to share your story. This is, if you notice, this is three. Oops, let's go backward. Uh-oh, let me go back. That's okay. Let me see here. 1 second. Oh, we had a malfunction here. 1 second, guys. Oh no. That always happens when I'm just here and I'm going back. All right. Well, we are having a quick malfunction. We're going to hop back into where we were with share your story. And get in there. Are there any other questions while I'm hopping around here? Since I'm, all right, let me see. I really apologize, folks. This is not usually how it happens. There we go. Thanks, Wendy. It's funny because often, usually I don't have the whole thing stop on me. Okay. All right. So here we are. 3 things, right? It's 3. It's so simple. It's not, I know everyone's saying, yeah, sure, it's simple, but it's not really. But it is, right? We all know that if you make a list, it's easier to get something done, right? Create a plan. The plan is everything to me. I like to say that when it comes to sharing your story, figuring out how to share your story, yes, content is the king, but consistency is the queen. And so in my mind, that queen is the most important thing. If you can share something, it's better than thinking too much about sharing something perfect, right? So if you have a plan that'll work, that goes back to that last slide of just think through what's on our calendar. What do we do? What do we love to do? What's important to us? You can even start with, looking at the calendar and saying, okay, we're meeting with somebody. Here's an organization we partner with. Share that. Share their information, right? Engage with their audience, but make it a plan. I tell everyone the best place to start is looking at the next 6 months. You're going into the holidays. This is a really big time for nonprofits to be able to share their story. People want to hear, people want to give, people want to engage. And so the encouragement I give you now is, even if it feels too overwhelming to go 6 months, just go to the end of the year. Start today and look at what's going on between now and the end of the year and create a plan for how often you think you should share something and just what's going on. And then be consistent. If you make the plan and you say, okay, my goal is to do some social media, right? We will do 2 posts a week between now and the end of the year. So make it really tangible and really simplified so that you can be consistent and share some stories. What could we talk about? What is going on? Who on our staff is doing something cool? Or what am I doing if I'm the sole volunteer, right? Just think through that. And then if your goal is 2 posts a week, just so that you can start being consistent, right? Then that's only 8 a month. So you need to think of 8 things to talk about in October. You need to think about 8 things to talk about in November. The freebies for you, it's going to be Giving Tuesday. You should have some things prepared before Giving Tuesday. And then it's probably going to be your year-end appeals where you're asking people to give, right? Plan some things around that. Yes, you want to be able to make asks when it's important, but the story is what tells people who and why and how to give. So if you can, anyone who wants, hop in the Q&A and tell me what type of what your nonprofit is, and who you serve, what you do. And I want to kind of talk through in a real tangible way a couple of ideas that can make this easy for you. So whoever wants, hop in the question. Education justice. So it's just back to school now, right? There are always some trends happening that talk about what's going on. How do we educate our kids? We know that there's big news around that. Whatever your lane is, think of some things that are sharing the stories. I say positive is where all of storytelling should be. So what are the positive stories happening around education justice? What is the news saying? But then how do you want to make sure that your mission gets across so that people can engage with you in a really great way? Education can be the story. A person can be the story. Show a face. This is Sarah, and she has had this experience in the education system, but she's been able to work with us and accomplish this, and we're making these changes. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, hi, Kara. So this foundation supports seminary students with scholarships and one-on-one mentorship so they can stay in the ministry and flourish. That's very cool. So I would say, again, this is that, think about what your plan could be around your work, right? But you have an awesome opportunity for storytelling. Who are these students and who are these mentors? Start telling folks who they are. Decide who your audience is, but then who are the folks that would want to engage with that? And what are the goals in that? Are you looking for students? Are you looking for mentors? Are you looking for people to donate? Probably yes to all of those, right? So how do you reach, where do those people get their news? What do they follow? What do they read? What do they want to talk about? So it's really looking at that in such simple ways. Think of the story and then think, where do the people that I want to talk to get their stories? It's starting there is a great way to just help you make a plan and get consistent. So the biggest thing that I hear always, so we've done a plan, we can do some social media, but we can't actually get media attention. the media itself, right? The news that talks about the stuff, the local newspaper, the regional newspaper, the nonprofit association news, television, radio, all of those. The ones that we know people, the most people will listen, right? I can't get anyone to pay attention. Now what? Well, start simple. Identify a newsworthy story. There are a lot of things that are happening in your organization and in your day that are not newsworthy. It is also safe to say that some things that are newsworthy today will not be newsworthy tomorrow. So the moment really works. Much of what I do is preparing people for when something is news. And what that looks like is creating our story and having it really solid and firm, getting comfortable with sharing our story so that in the moment that it is news, we can talk about it. So I wouldn't, again, simple, tangible steps. What are other nonprofits getting media coverage on right now? Start paying attention to nonprofit news. Start looking at, the news that you read, but also the news that your audience reads. Where do they get their news? I would ask your board of directors um, if they read the news, where they read the news, or if they're on social media, what social media. Do a little poll and see where your staff and board members are. That's a really great way to start because those are the people who are engaged in what you do. Most every nonprofit should have a board of directors. If you don't, get one, and start asking them. Okay, well, what do you read the news? Do you watch the news? Do you listen on the radio? What is it? Right? Where do you learn about things? Just find out where, and that's how that you create that audience. What are other nonprofits getting talked about for? What is happening in the world outside of my organization? That would align really well with that education justice nonprofit piece, or an organization that does forward facing service, right, which most do. Can someone here, is do I have someone on my team, or am I an expert at that? And an expert just means someone who understands it and can speak to it from your point of view. So if the world had a PR crisis tomorrow, and there was something that aligned with something I can talk about, I would want to let the media know, hey, if you need someone to talk about how to do crisis planning, I could be there for you and talk to you about that, right? How does what's happening in the world around me relate exactly to the work that I do? We did a video a while ago. Our world has a lot of big news happening all the time. That's the one reason I say don't always expect the news coverage. Create your own news and make your own audiences, right? But there are others times where it aligns. There are a lot of times where it doesn't align. And so it's okay if there's big national news happening that doesn't align with your organization or your mission and your lane or your expertise. It's okay to be quiet in those times, but certainly evaluate, what do we do? If there's a lot of articles one day out about burnout and you run an organization that focuses on wellness, now's a really good time for you to put some things out about wellness. Share the articles about burnout and connect them back to you. Reach out to your local news station and let them know, hey, we have experts that talk about wellness and we'd love to talk to you about how we can help prevent burnout. We saw the story that you posted last week, right? It's thinking holistically. And then what are you doing in the next year? That's that planning. Think ahead. Think about what's happening in the next year that you might want to tell someone about. And again, I narrow it down to think about what you talked to your friends about work or your family. When you got home, did you say to your partner, we're working on this really cool project. I can't wait to see it finish. Okay, that's a story. Tell that to more people, right? It doesn't have to be super hard. And back to that piece that I said earlier, right? A lot of what you need to be working on is being prepared, working on the story. I can't tell you how many times people want news and then they aren't ready, or they don't have someone who can be a spokesperson, and they haven't done media trainings so that they know what they can say and what they can't say. And so when the media calls and wants to talk, who gives the information? How do we educate? Who is that person who speaks? What do we say? Do we have language that we've agreed on? Do we have language that we know shares our story in a really good, quick, simple way? That's the prep work to this. And I think if if you want news coverage, bigger than controlling your own social media and doing some consistent email marketing and the integrated piece of it, spend some time to be prepared. Do some training, have your whole team ready, make sure that you're ready to be available. Also be available if you're going to send something. I get calls at 8 and 9 o'clock at night from the media with a story that's going to go on at 11, and they want to know if I've got somebody who can speak to whatever. I We create a pocket list of the 3 or 4 people at an organization, or and we do those in order of importance, right? Of the order, not in order of importance, everyone's important, in order of who can speak on each topic, so that I know who I could text and call. I never want to say no to the media. I don't want you to have to say no to the media, because that moment that you get is your moment. If there's something happening that you can speak to, that's your moment. They might not call again, they might call again, but that's where you build your relationships and you found someone to share your story. What other questions do you guys have as I'm talking? I know I like to try to pack in a lot in this moment so that you can see there are a couple more questions in here. After school programs. Uh, so same, after school, we're back to school, we're getting into the swing of things. What are people needing to engage with? What are parents really needing? I would look specifically in your area and see who's talking about children's resources and things like that, and how can you align with that. But also it's, okay, what are we doing? Who's on our team? What's our niche, right? What is really important to us? um I'm going to read a few of these questions so that we don't miss anyone. uh London Sky Bright Initiative, amazing. The HELP syndrome, I'm going to have to look that up. I apologize, I'm not familiar with that. So again, it's looking at those national observances that fall in line with the work that you do, talking about people who have maybe gone through the organization and share their stories if they're willing to. Talking about your expertise. Uh, yes, Janine, I don't know if you already logged off or not, but I will be sending out uh, the recording to folks who were here and anyone who signed up. So no problem. Okay, Mittens for Detroit. I love this. I've heard of your organization actually. Bernie Sanders Mittens hit the news. I started a 3-day fundraiser on Facebook. I love it. That's so perfect. So that's exactly right, right? Take a national story, pin it down to something local and run with it. That's such a great way to engage. And then make sure, right? It's about to get cold and people need mittens. So that's a story. Just talk about who got mittens last year and who's getting mittens this year and how many people donated and what that means, right? Those are those really simple, tangible ways to be able to share your story, and in simple ways, right? What does that look like? You'll see that little tear out on the bottom here says, the most valuable media outlet may not be one that you read, watch, and engage with. I say this because it's really important to remember that not everyone gets their news the same way you do, and that's really important. So that's back to that idea of asking your team, asking your family, asking your board members, asking your friends. Do you read the news? Do you get the news? Where do you get your stories, right? A lot of people will say Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Someone put that story there, right? So who are they actually following? Find that out. Find out where they're actually engaging. Usually around this time of a conversation about social media, I get the, should I be on TikTok? Should I be on Twitter? Should I be on XYZ new social media trend that is out there. My short answer is always just no. And that sounds strange coming from somebody who does social media, but knowing what people have capacity for and knowing what you have capacity for is the most important thing. So, kind of going back to that, content is great, but consistency is the queen. So, picking one or two social media outlets that you can be consistent with is really the most important thing. That's what's going to start building your credibility and building people following you. Um, so, speaking back to that media piece of it, look, this is my cheat sheet for how to get ready for media. This is what we do. So it's to me, it's tried and true, and it's something that you can work on. I'm happy to help if people want to be able to engage and work on some of these strategies. I'm happy to do that. This is not a sales presentation, but if you do want that help, please reach out. But look at it, create a media list is, look at, and by media list, it might mean, um, what associations are we part of? We send media for our small businesses and our smaller nonprofits to their local chamber of commerce because their local chamber of commerce has an audience of 1,000 people who live in the vicinity of their organization. So it really makes sense to connect with those people. Those are your people you're serving and the people who are giving to you. So media list doesn't always mean traditional media, but look at that too, right? Now you've asked all of your team and board and friends, where do you get your news? Now, take a look at that news and see who's talking about nonprofits. Take a look at that news and see what reporters are reporting on. Find out who they are and make a short list of people that you think might be interested in talking about what you are sharing in the next year, maybe not tomorrow. And then be ready before you reach out. Start small. You can read these, right? Who's writing about nonprofits like mine? That's a really simple way to start making a media list. But also the who do we know and where are we already connected? Most people have people who know someone either in the media or who just have an audience. I work for a firm that is a part of a manufacturing association, and the organization connects with the manufacturing association, but that manufacturing association puts out a lot of content and a lot of people read that content. So we've just started submitting content to them, stories about the work that they do, and information and education. Is it the 7 o'clock news at 6? No, but is it reaching a couple thousand people every month or so? Yeah. So, be creative, right? Think about this as just outreach. It's finding out who that public is that might want to share the story. Uh, I know that that's intimidating when you already don't have a ton of time. So, I would encourage you, one of the things that I do, because it takes a lot of time to look at news. I just sign up for like the daily headline briefings from a few outlets that make sense. I do that with all my clients as well. So I just can, get an email where I can quickly look at headlines and see if anything connects with what I do. Do that with the ones that you already read, but also do that with the ones that maybe you've identified that your board or your leadership reads and follows so that you can engage with those and just starting somewhere, right? Seeing what they put on their email, follow them on social media because that's a great way to see what they're talking about. Share their stuff to your social media and tag back to them. Let them know now somebody somewhere will see you. The same way you get a notification, someone somewhere gets a notification that your organization shared their information. So it's a great way to just again just have a small amount of visibility with folks. What questions do we have about this piece? Really thinking about, we've got about 20 minutes left, that I'm just here to answer your questions. When you are looking at how you share your story, getting ready to share your story, what your mission is, how you want to engage with donors and people, what are you trying to accomplish between now and the end of the year? What are those challenges that you come in contact with, whether you're small or, what does your marketing team come in contact with? How do you engage with your development team? All of these things are so important for really identifying what what that story is and how you do that storytelling. And I'm happy to kind of hone in on a couple of specifics if someone has a question. I'm happy to talk through a couple of other case studies that we've worked on, and just really, solidify for you. The biggest thing I will say that we experience is people just don't know where to start. And so a lot of the work that I do is just sitting down and figuring out where we start. And as you saw and in the slides, just really tangible ways. Who's on our team? And what do I do? And what does my calendar look like in the next couple of weeks? Sitting down and thinking of it that way will change the way that you think about this big, scary thing that's storytelling. It will change the way you think, and also thinking about what does it take to get this done. Again, I'll talk about the intimate partner violence nonprofit um, that we work with. We we've spent some time over the last year just identifying how much it costs to do all of the little things that take someone along to freedom in a domestic violence situation. And so, next month is October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we know that that's a time that the whole nation is going to be talking about this, and other nonprofits are going to be talking about this. So as we're storytelling, we want to talk about things that people don't think about, right? In order to get free, sometimes you're going to need a personal protection order. Sometimes you're going to need new identification or new locks at your house or a myriad of other things, right? What does that cost? How do we share that story? So thinking really tangibly about what it costs to, are we knitting? Is someone going to knit mittens? What does that cost? How can someone donate to that who maybe doesn't understand what that does? Any suggestions on the very first post of a nonprofit social media? Ooh, how exciting! Your very first post? Um, I can say, uh, I can say that the very first post should be a really big fun announcement. That's your moment. That's your grand opening. Share who you are, talk about what you do. If you want to do a short video, I'd say do that. Um, but I think for sure, make it a splash. Let people know what they're in for. And then be prepared. I would also encourage you that um before you make your first post, have 10 more ready to go. Because you don't want to make the first and then get frozen. So before you make your first one, have that plan ready of what else you're going to talk about so that because you can be consistent. That queen needs to be consistent. What are some strategies for engagement beyond just reading, commenting, sharing? On social media, I think, yes, commenting and sharing are really important, both on your own social media. We do social media monitoring for our clients just for that reason, right? We create content strategy, we write content, we are scheduling it out on all of their platforms, but then we have a team that just watches it because we want to make sure that if somebody comments, or asks a question, they get a response. And we want to make sure that if someone likes something, that we are engaging back. So that's a good way to start. Another great way to engage is see who's following you, make sure you're following them, and comment on their things. And so, maybe it's another organization, but maybe it's someone in the community that you can engage with in that way. James is asking, what resources can you find interesting dates on the calendar? Yeah, so you can actually just Google national observances. You can do a search that talks about national observances. I would encourage you to do a search that is national observances that relate with, my mission. Fill in your mission there. So, we work with an organization that is a regional disability resource. And so we, on their content calendar, are all of the national observances that align with people with disabilities, and either serving them, caregivers, volunteers. So you can search. It's a pretty easy search, and then hone in on what those specific ones are for you. Yes, same with National Ice Cream Day, and all of those are on a list somewhere. You can look at those. You can pull those up. Um, I am one who really encourages you to post about the things that connect with what you do. If you don't make ice cream, don't talk about ice cream day. But if you're going to have an ice cream party for your staff on National Ice Cream Day, then certainly take a picture of them eating ice cream and share that you're doing that fun thing with your staff, right? But you can do some really easy searches for the ones that both align with you, but also just national observances. That's a really great way to start. I work for the Spanish Community Center in Illinois. That's awesome. Um, yeah. So, like I said before, she's asking, or he's asking. I apologize. They're asking, how can you maximize storytelling when our clients are private about their stories and information? So, I work with several organizations that you cannot share personal information. Um, Usually, there's a couple different ways to go about this. Usually, we will pick a story theme, and we can talk around that story. We did a big annual appeal campaign a couple years ago for a client, and we just shared the story of Susan. Um, and we talked about uh, what Susan experiences, right? And we used different photos and of different people each time we shared that. This was a social media and email campaign. We shared different photos each time so that we were sure to let people know that Susan wasn't the real person, but that these are the types of things that someone in our experiences, someone in our organization experiences. So, you certainly don't need to go to talking about the specific client. That's a great opportunity to either talk about the types of work that you do with a client and also engage with your team. Sometimes you can't talk about what someone comes to you for, as far as like counseling services, but you could speak to the counselor and talk to them about what they love about their work and how they're impacted, right? So sometimes it's just thinking of it in a new way. And when it's, for the media side of things, same thing, right? You may not be able to find someone who would be interviewed, but your team could talk about the work that they do. um, and that's that future planning, really looking ahead and seeing, is there someone that we worked with maybe a couple of years ago that would be willing to come back? Maybe they volunteer now and they'd be willing to share their story from before, or from when they first started working with you and now they don't anymore. So there's a lot of ways around that, while you're still really protecting the work that you do. Certainly, the people that you serve should always come first, and we're really careful to honor that. And you should always honor that first. But there's some ways around it to think creatively, and be able to still share the story. Uh, so yes, the presentation is being recorded, and I'll send that out to the list of folks that signed up, so they can see the highs and the lows of this presentation. I also have these handouts and other things. If you'd like to request those, just send me an email. All of that information will come in the email that you get with the recording if you'd like any more information on all of that. So we're certainly happy to engage with you and help. There's the other opportunity is, if you are looking for someone to just go over some of this content strategy with you, we have some options that my team can do, that we're able to put together some of these strategies for you, where we work with people. We do what we call a communications intensive. I have a couple of spots left for those before the end of the year. Again, this is not intended to be a sales call, but if you are interested and would like to do that communications intensive and just look at what your 2024 would look at and have me chart it out for you and help you and train your team, I'm happy to do that. You can email me, and I'll send this out when I send the email, post event, but it's Andrea@walkerpublicity.com. Andrea at walkerpublicity.com. So it's a real simple email address. Um, and you can simply email me and engage. There will also be information next week on our website about that communications intensive. And anyone who is signed up for this will get emails regarding that, but also the recording of today. So happy to be able to share with you my knowledge, and you'll be able to get a note again of when we're doing another one of these. Before we sign off, I would love to hear from you. I do at least one of these a quarter. Sometimes we'll do them a little more than that if we've got interest. What other areas in your communication and your storytelling are you stuck? Are you interested? If we were to do something else that maybe dove a little deeper in another one of these really short 1 hour time slots, is there anything else? Are there any other questions that you would like to be able to have me or someone on my team cover? That's another thing I'd love to hear. If you'd like to gauge that, if there are spots where even when it comes to donor relations, we do this storytelling and your development work really work hand in hand. So if there's anything else that you would like to know or would like to be able to kind of um, have in a different donor communication. Yeah. So, that's another piece. A lot of this falls right in line with donor communication. We do a lot of donor engagement help, um, creating short videos. Okay. We have someone on our team who does that, engaging brand ambassadors. That's great. Annual plan as discussed today. Yeah, we can do some more of that for sure. I love that. These are great ideas. Thank you. So I'm going to hold on to these and as we're making our upcoming sessions for donor relations and how to really engage those pieces and those real pieces. So be on the lookout. You'll all be a part of our nonprofit email list. So you'll get an email just when we send those out, just if there's a blog I think you should read, or that we've created specifically for nonprofits, or if I'm posting one of these events coming up, you'll get something. So we don't email a lot. The proper way to ask to request funding. Yeah, I will tell you, starting to share the story will make donor relations easier. The more people understand what you do and how it impacts people, that will start to help to make your donor relations easier. So please, think through what that looks like. What do we actually do? Who do we serve? Why is this important? Really thinking about those things is going to help you to easily make the ask, but the ask won't seem as far-fetched if you've consistently engaged with people. So think about consistency, think about sharing the story. And I think, maybe in the, early in the new year, we will do something about, or maybe before the end of the year when you're looking at those annual appeals, something about how to make those ask and what that donor relation looks like. But this storytelling is a big part of your donor relations. If you can get consistent with sharing messaging, some of that messaging can be an ask, but hopefully you're getting creative about it, and can really look at what that looks like. I'm finished with the presentation piece of this. The questions that you guys asked were amazing. Thank you so much for spending some time today just digging into what storytelling looks like for a nonprofit and how we do storytelling and PR here. I will be happy to share this recording for those who couldn't attend or those who want to watch it again. And we'll also have some information that if you request, we can send the packet of slides or information about those communication intensives that we do that actually will train your team, write your annual plan, and get you guys ready for that, for taking those next steps with planning. That's the work that I love to do. This is my way of being able to be a part of or many nonprofits teams. I get to see the work that you do and help you share that mission, and that is really why I love what I do. It really is the opportunity for me to take what you do and help you share that story. It's why I get up in the morning. So I thank you so much to everyone who's here. Thank you to anyone who's watching and wasn't here. But I am looking forward to connecting with more of you. Also, please, in the email that you'll get right after this will be my LinkedIn, my email address. Feel free to connect. We'll be doing some new things with nonprofits in the new year, and I've got some resources that I can share with you from some of the other folks that we work with as far as how to engage with donors. There's some new platforms out there that will help make asks to donors and share your story in some new, pretty unique ways. So um, I want to be able to share that with you. So please, sign up, tag me on LinkedIn, whatever that looks like. I'm happy to grow my network with all of you people who are doing amazing, amazing work. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will hopefully be talking again very soon. Bye.